It says stream is live, so now I know. Listen, guys, 6 easy steps to blend hair extensions. It's more than just a haircut. And so I listed out 6 easy steps. Eddie does not know my steps. He might add some sub parts like 1A, 1B, 1C, but we might add some steps in the middle. But I'm going to blab them out kind of fast here in the beginning and summarize it. And then we'll go into details for each one so that Eddie can be thinking ahead of time if he wants to add anything to it. But I just want to thank you guys for supporting us, the Profitable Stylists. Hopefully you guys are profitable or want to be profitable. Not every stylist wants to be profitable. So I loved when RJ said that name early on, because I thought, you know what, that is more what I'm about. I do like making money in this art, this craft, this whatever you call it. Not every stylist does. Many stylists just do it for fun, just do it for the hangout, the friends, the creativity side. And I get it. And that's fine. And if you're like, that's me, but I got to listen to you so I can learn how to make money, that's okay too. But then some of you guys just don't like me at all because you think I'm all about the money. No, I just got a family support and I have to make money and I enjoy making money and there's nothing wrong with making money. But some people have this hang up mentally that making money is bad. Making money is not bad. It's if you take advantage of people to make money or if you do bad things with the money you've made, that's bad. Making money is not bad. And what you do with money doesn't have to be bad. So now that I'm off of my soapbox, how we blend, I'm looking at my notes here, how we blend or how to blend. What's the official title that RJ typed in for today's?
The Art of Seamless Hair Extensions Blending.
Seamless hair extensions blending. He might have got that from a show I just went to in Pennsylvania. I was watching this girl with another extension technique on stage doing the technique I do across the top for blending extensions. I was so impressed. I said, this can only happen for a few reasons. One is she developed that technique on her own because it really is the best way to blend extensions. A razor is fine. Thinning, shears, texturizing tools are great. But if you're going to use a pair of scissors, little bitty cuts over the top of pulling the hair out in the back and kind of layering over the top with little cuts. It almost looks like slicing, sliding, slithering, but that's basically a razor with scissors. And I don't like that technique. I want to do little cuts, but you're cutting along the way over the top of the layers. And I saw her doing it and I thought, maybe she saw one of my videos and learned it from me because I've never seen anybody else do it. And that is fine if that happened. But what would be more exciting is if she kind of developed that same technique on her own because it's a good idea. And we just together and many others just kind of figured it out. But, and this is why I'm not naming any company names, there was a couple things done wrong. It didn't look good. She's on stage from the back. The color's a little off. It's a blonde. So the color was a little off and the placement was so low. It just looked like a mullet. It looked like the hair was coming out from way too low in the back. And so the cutting made it look a little bit better. The color could have blended a little better, but a higher placement would have made a difference. And so what I did when I saw our title, I was like, let me just write down the 6 things I think. Ooh, that's a cheat sheet. Can you read that?
I'm pausing it.
It's such a mess. Right. If you pause this video and you still couldn't read this, if you try.
Was you a doctor or was you a hairdresser?
Yeah, I'm going to be a doctor. Yep. I'm the hair doctor. So what happened here is I started thinking the things that I learned the hard way through the years also to blend extensions was first, the color match.
Okay.
People just don't match color well. And let me just throw the 6 out real quick, and then we'll talk about each one in detail. That way, if people just want to watch the first little bit and get the summary, fine. And then we'll kind of go through details on each one. So blend in the color, and then the cut prep. Like in cutting, believe it or not, cutting the client's hair before the extensions go in. What? Why would you do that? And I would say that's the most skipped step because people think it's stupid. And then ordering enough hair. Most people don't order enough hair. Placement, where the hair goes on the head. That's probably the second most wrong thing done in my book. Then the cut again, but the cut of the extensions and the client's hair. And then the not so important step number 6, if everything else is done right. 6 might not even matter, but I got to throw it in there, the style. You know, you style it. I mean, you could style it to look stupid, but if it's cut really well, you shouldn't have to style it to look natural. It should just look like you didn't style your hair and you have longer hair or thicker hair, and it would be fine. So those are my 6 steps along the way as we go through them. If you think there's another super important step, we'll rename this video to the 7 or 8 most important steps of seamless hair extension blending. So let's start with the color. I mean, we actually covered this in a video recently where the biggest problem is, I was looking to see if I had a mannequin around, but the biggest problem is when a person pulls that hair out and they do it like they're getting ready to color roots, and they put that color swatch right up against the scalp. And they start matching color. I did an extension. I did a hair loss consultation yesterday. A lady comes in. She sent videos. She sent pictures in before we were communicating through text. And I mean, immediately, I've done this so many times. Immediately when I saw her, I can tell she's complaining about her hair. She thinks she needs a topper or a wig or a hair system or a hair piece. She needs something on top. Her part is ridiculous. But because of that, she's shedding hair more than usual. She's worried. She's in her mid-50s. But she also stopped shampooing her hairs often because she's worried that she's pulling her hair out with too aggressive of movements. And she stopped coloring her hair. And it's like a medium to dark brown colored, but there's about 60, 70% gray. And so her roots are growing out that far. I said, well, not just your scalp is showing. All that white hair at your part is making you look even thinner now because you've got white hair blending in with your white scalp with a little bit of dark hair, 30 or 40% of dark hair on top, then the dark hair down here. But her hair is down past her bra strap, middle of her back. It's beautiful dark brown hair, quite a bit of it. And she's only concerned with this right there. And I said, what about all this thin hair here? We could put one weft on your head. One pack of any kind of extensions would make a difference on her head. If you just put a little on the sides, if you put one row around, I mean, this is not a full head of extensions. This is your common customer. So for there, just color match and putting it almost anywhere would be fine because we're not adding length, right? And so color matching her hair, because she hadn't done the roots, for one, because she hadn't done her roots, it means even these ends had not been refreshed in a little while because she thinks that color is damaging her hair and her hair's falling out because of color, which is rare. I mean, hair falls out a little more often from lightening and bleach done incorrectly than it does from going darker. Even people that do it themselves are less likely to damage their hair going darker than they are going lighter. So I told her, your hair is in great condition, actually. Whoever's doing your color's been doing a good job, except for the last 3 to 4, 6 weeks. They're doing nothing. But she's not even letting them pull the color through the ends because she's worried that that's getting damaged and coming out of her head also. So she's got a lot of fadeage down here. And it's like a reddish, much warmer brown because it's fading. And I'm thinking, we're getting ready to put extensions in. Do I match? Obviously not the gray because we're going to color our hair. The darker brown, the medium brown, or the light reddish medium brown that's coming out down here. Well, that depends, right? Is she going to get colored, or are we going to color hair before? And she said, don't match my ends because I normally would. She goes, because if you've talked me into understanding that color is not what's damaging my hair. I want to get my roots done and we're going to color, and we need that to be as dark as up here. Thank goodness I got that information, because if we were going to just do roots and leave those ends lighter, that's where the extensions are going to show mostly, is in the ends where the hair's thinner. It's going to blend together. But truthfully, we could use almost any shade that she has in her hair because we're not extending. We're just adding thickness. So all it's going to do is add a tonal value. So it literally could be any of those colors that she would like to add to her hair. More highlight, more the lighter color, more of a low light, more the darker color, or color her hair and match the darker color, and it all be dark. And that's what we decided to do. So color is just not really thought about, planned out well enough, in my opinion.
I agree. There's a lot going on with all of that. Another thing that I get a lot of phone calls about constantly every week. Do you color the hair extensions before you put them in? Do you color the hair extensions after they've been put into the client's head?
Neither. I order the right color to start with.
Well, and then depending on the hair extensions themselves, sometimes you do fall into a situation where you could get as close as possible with the color match of the extensions. And everybody's always worried about getting the hair extensions to match identically to the client's natural hair or whatever the client's color is going to be. So a little bit of advices as you were talking made me think about this. Here's a couple of advices. Rather than trying to force the hair extensions to match perfectly to the client's hair, try to get as close as possible with the hair extensions and see how much you can manipulate the client's hair to match closer to the hair extensions. Do it backwards. If you really, if this is your color, you are a medium brown, and you found this hair extension medium brown color that's pretty close. It's not spot on, but it's pretty close. See if the client is willing to adjust their color slightly to offset to match the hair extensions. It'll make life so much easier.
Why?
So much easier.
Why? What's hard about coloring?
What people don't understand, what people don't realize is these hair extensions have already been processed and they've already been colored down with a textile dye. We say this so often in class. We say this so often on here, and people just don't realize. I want everybody to do an experiment. I want you to go get an old raggedy t-shirt that you got, and not just like a simple white one. I want you to go get a colored raggedy t-shirt that you got. Next time you're about to toss it, throw it out, or turn it into a dust rag or something, tear off a section of it and keep it and try to color it and see what happens. See the holy hell of a mess that you're going to have.
You mean lighten it, huh?
No, either way. Oh. Okay, fine. Even better. Lighten half of it and try to color the other half of it with a 10 volume or a demi-permanent color. And see.
Why would I use hair color on a t-shirt?
Because it's the same textile dye that's used in the coloring of hair extensions. And so you will see the pain and suffering that you're about to unleash upon yourself, you know?
That's right.
And this is
sounds like a lawsuit when you call it.
Okay, let's just say, fine, I got the hair. Now I'm going to color this. I'm going to commit to doing it myself. Okay, that's fine. A lot of people do it. We do it all the time.
Right.
Try to go slightly lighter. Like if your choice is you've got two colors of hair extensions that are matching as close as possible to the client's head, one slightly lighter, one slightly darker, 10 out of 10 every single time, go with the lighter version. It is 10,000 million, billion, trillion, infinity times easier to color down from a lighter shade than it is to color up from a darker.
That's right. That's true.
Now, what are your choice? Do you color it before you put it in, or do you color it after it's in the client's head?
Let's ask Casper and comment. What do y'all think?
What do you guys think? They're like, we're out of this one.
They're like playing dead.
There is technically no right answer. It is a situational thing to yourself. You got to make a decision. Here is the issues, or here are the things to consider that you're going to run into. If you color the hair extensions before you put them in, it's kind of easier to do it because you could just grab the hair and soak it in and bathe it into the color and do what you need to do and let it sit for as long as you want. And you don't have to worry about the person getting bored or tired or you're running behind schedule or whatever. You throw the extensions off to the side. You forget about them.
You've also got the client's hair in the way.
There is that as well.
I mean, do you need to color the client's hair? Because if you're just needing to change the extensions color to match the client, well, why would you have them together?
Well, some people do both. They color the client's hair at the same time with the extensions.
Right.
Some people do.
Yeah, and so like you said before, extension hair has already been processed. So it's going to usually process faster than a client's head. Or hair.
Correct. That is correct. So this is why we always recommend using a deposit only. Don't go in and with 10 volume and try to start nuking this thing. You're going to over ammoniate that hair, which means it's going to become heat activated. Anytime that client takes a hot shower, anytime they go outside in the sun, anytime they're blow drying, flat ironing, curling iron, hot rolling, any source of heat whatsoever is going to activate that hair shaft, and it's going to release some of that pigmentation. This is why that color fades off prematurely. Okay. So be mindful of how you're coloring that hair. Now, after we're still talking about pre-coloring the extensions before you install them. Let them air dry for 24 to 48 hours before you install it in. So don't do this an hour before the client come in. Do this a couple of days beforehand and let this hair extensions air dry.
It's going to hold that color better, right?
It's going to hold the color better because it's going to air neutralize, which you've done a couple of perm videos recently, and you're talking all about, air neutralizing. It really is a thing. It's amazing. The second thing, what more people don't think about is the attachment area now has moisture absorbed into it from the washing, the shampooing, and the conditioning. Okay. And if it's a keratin bond, you're going to create a little bit of gumminess from reactivating that moisture, embedding that into the keratin. Mm-hmm. If you're using a tape adhesive, forget about it. That sucker's sliding off in 2 seconds. If you're using an I-tip, an O-ring, a beaded type of system.
O-tip, not O-ring.
Excuse me, O-tip. You're softening that hair by the ring area. Now with an O-tip, it's easy because the hair ring and the bead are not touching each other. But in other systems like an I-tip or something similar, the ring and the hair is one. And now you're having to close that down. You're going to start pre-shedding that hair. So these are all the things you got to think about. If you're going to color the hair when it's installed into the client's head, you got to shift the client's hair around. You got to make sure where you're applying it. Are you applying it to a section that's not already been colored? There's outgrowth. Well, then when it's time to take that extension out, you got to be mindful that there's going to be a spot, a line of demarcation there. And then the client's hair too. What color do you use to color the hair extensions versus the color you're using to color the client's hair? If you're using permanent color, you're over ammoniating the hair extensions. You're having to go over the attachment.
So bottom line, do them separate is just easier, right?
It's easier, but you got to be mindful of which way technically there's no right or wrong to it. These are just the things you got to be mindful
about. That's right. So for the most part, they're colored differently if you're doing it correctly. So it's much easier to do them separately. And you can do them both at the same time on a hair rack and a client away from each other, color them. But why not, like you said, do it on the extensions days before, let it air neutralize and really set in very well before you put them together. And that's what most stylists do, I believe, especially if you're going to be doing some kind of root melt or ombre or balayage. You're coloring the top half or the bottom half a different color, trying to blend it. It's so much easier when it's not on the head. Also, if you're doing it on a counter or something. So step 2, cut prep is what I call it, because before the install, most people skip this, and I did too. For many years, I would get extensions in, and then no amount of cutting would blend those extensions, and I couldn't figure out why. Part of it, which I'm going to kind of link together a little bit, is the placement. Part of it is because I placed them incorrectly. But after you've got extensions all throughout the hair, if you've got some sort of solid bob line or one length line, but then you've got extensions, so many people are putting all their extensions on one row these days. This girl on TikTok the other day, my wife sent me, so many followers and views. Now she's getting destroyed in the comments for her terrible work. But she was talking about how I put 5 wefts in one row because they're sewed in, and many people put 4 to 7 wefts on a row. And I'm like, I want to go visit her. She's somewhere in Texas. And I'm like, you know what? I want to be in Texas next weekend and in September. Maybe I go help her out. She probably don't want to be helped out. She's got a successful. Yeah, I'm going to fix you. She's got a successful TikTok channel. Sure, some hairdressers are destroying her. She's putting these beads in, doing a hand tie technique. putting 2 or 3 wefts under the beads, flopping the beads down, putting 2 or 3 above. She's saying 3 below, 2 above, or vice versa. And you can fit 5 in there. They're slightly separated just by how she's stacking them. And then maybe you can cut the client's hair above that one weft, pick it up, and cut the client's hair below the weft if you need to get rid of any solid lines. But if you're doing it correctly and you got at least 2 rows or more, or strands or individual strands, I-tips, O-tips, keratin tips, K-tips throughout the hair, you can't separate the client's shorter hair from the extension hair after they're in. If they have some blunt lines that are showing here and the extensions are going further down, how do you get rid of a solid line that's already in there? You can't blend extensions over the top. That takes away a solid line that you can see through the extensions. So when I say the haircut before, I'm talking about softening and blending the ends of a client's hair before the extensions go in. And the way I figured this out through the years is that I did a lot of extension jobs, learned from my mess ups. Some look great and some didn't, doing the same thing on different people. And it took me a long time to figure out, when the girl with the fine, thin, shattered, destroyed blonde hair, because she's been bleaching her own hair, another hair has been bleaching it too much, and her ends are all broken up and just real uneven and scraggly looking. You couldn't even see the ends of her hair in her own hair. There was no line, like she should probably get a trim. We put extensions in and they blend perfectly because there were no lines to blend. And then the girl with the real thick blunt hair, which was rare, they didn't usually want or need extensions. So the mistakes weren't made as often. But when they were made, I thought, what if I could make the thick-haired girl's hair look like the thin-haired girl's hair on the end? Will she be okay with that? Many times they're not. No, don't cut my hair. I'm not getting extensions to look worse. Well, you're going to look better at the end, but the ends aren't going to blend very well. If you really want that longer hair, I've got to at least the last 2 or 3 inches, in my opinion, shatter them somehow. Really make them look broken up and uneven. Are you okay with that? Most are, but they're not all okay with it. Then what do you do? That's up to you. What do you want to say about cut prep? That's all?
We're so I'm trying to think how to say this the nicest way possible.
Oh, you don't have to. There's nobody here to offend.
Even better. I've never have understood. It's been almost 30 years now, and I've still never understood to this day how everybody hangs on to those last 2 inches. And they're like, this is length. This is length. Like, for the love of God, it's dead. There is nothing there. Like, it's fried, it's split, it's shattered. There's nothing there. Just cut it off, for the love of God. It would by default give you
not before you put extensions in.
I'm just saying, like, that's what we're trained to do, right?
Right.
But now when it comes to hair extensions, it's actually the opposite. For the love of God, finally, you get to keep those last 2 stupid inches that you're hanging on to for dear life.
2 hairs.
It makes everything look more natural. If you're extending length, it makes everything look more natural. The other thing, what I've never understood is, like you were mentioning, they've got their length and they've got a nice design line, blunt ends, like a bob or something, right?
Right.
And they're like, I don't want to shatter my ends. I don't want to cut my hair. I don't want to thin out the ends. They hear the word thinning and automatically it just goes in their mind, I'm going to lose length or I'm going to lose something. It's not the hairstyle that you currently have is no longer your hairstyle if you're adding length with hair extensions. That now is going to become your new hairstyle. So in essence, this is just a layer. That's it. And you're going to be wearing these hair extensions for 6 months, a year, forever, however long you're going to be wearing it for. Right. So in the meantime, your natural hair is going to continue to grow. Cut the hell out of it. Shatter it. Do anything and everything you need to do to ensure that new added length is going to look right. There's nothing wrong with that at all. The other thing, the thing that I'll say is, let's just pretend this is the shear blades. I know, I'm like,
I thought you were counting your fingers.
Well, like when you're holding your blade, when you're holding your shears, don't just use the tip of your shear. Go all the way through. Like
Oh,
if it's
yeah.
at the apex, right?
Right. I don't know why people buy long shears, because all they do is cut. Thank you. All they do is use the tips.
Just use the tip of it, right? No, you got to get in there. You got to use the length of the blade to really get in there and do some deep cutting.
I agree.
That's what's going to blend the natural hair before you put the extensions in. So those are my couple of things off the top of my head. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like what you were saying. It made me think of something else in the cutting department. It's more than shattering those ends. And if they're keeping them in, like you said, as long as they are, even a few months, hair grows about a half an inch a month. So I get that you don't want shorter hair, but the truth is, if you have the hair extensions in for a few months, your hair replaces the little bit of texturizing thinning we did on the ends. So we take the extensions out, then we can cut your hair blunt. It'll be the same length that it was 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago.
It'll actually be longer.
It usually is. It usually is. Some people are like, but I wanted it to be even longer than what you were going to cut off. I get it. But I'm sorry. If you want the extensions to blend, this is the best course of action. So it will be long enough to blend. You stay here, boy. Lay down. So then we kind of touched on number 4, which is placement. And we did actually talk about that not too long ago in a video. And that's what was happening on the stage, the color and the placement. The placement, and it wasn't a permanent type of extension. It was a halo kind of thing with the string on there. And they could still place that halo instead of here, more here. You know, they got to get that back up higher. Most people just don't put extensions high enough. I don't know what it is. I guess the ears are, if we didn't have ears, people would put them even lower. Because that is, you know what I'm saying? It's the ears that saves 70% of the mistakes on extensions, because people are like, well, to get extensions on the side of the head, I'd like to just put it like right here, but I got to get above the ear, and then I'll put it right there. But it's not the best looking here, because then you still got all of this hair on top falling like a big old mushroom cloud over the top. Gigantic line of demarcation. It looks like you've got a bob on top of a long cut, totally disconnected. And just the higher you go, the better they look. Now, at what risk, Eddie? At what risk? Higher you go, the risk.
The higher you go, then you gotta be mindful in the crown area where your colic sits. Some people is lower, some people is higher.
And yeah, you're just seeing where they're attached. That's the only downside, right? I'm getting my protein shake.
I mean, that is a major downside. A minor downside is, I think what happens when we're taught about hair cutting, we're taught anything below the occipital bone, any layering or any length cutting below the occipital bone equals length. Anything from the occipital bone and above throughout the crown area equals layers and volume. So I think it becomes a psychological thing where everybody wants to put the extensions below the occipital bone because that equals length.
I see what you're saying. That's
so
interesting.
If you place it,
I've never heard that analogy with hair cutting, but I get that, because that
there's
is where
this
the
educator. His name is Eddie Ohanian. He does these hair cutting classes. You know.
Yeah. You should go.
You should go, right?
So I see what you're saying, and I have had a lot of people say, how much hair should I order? I'm just adding length. I probably don't need much. I'm just adding length to her bottom layer. So I'm going to put them really low in the bottom. Yeah. And you know what? It's going to be a beautiful shag, but if she has enough hair on her own head to blend over the top of that. But most people aren't getting extensions to look like they have a shag.
No, so most people are trying to do it to thicken, volume, full, and length. Everybody wants a little bit of everything. Do you, got a hole in your chin. The higher you place it, yes, you lose. What are you losing? 1 inch, a half an inch of length?
That's a good point. No, that's a great point. Because if you're raising it up, you are losing length, right? The higher you go, the higher. Yep.
But in the grand scheme of things, if where is your natural length and how much length are you extending? Everybody wants below their boobs. But if your natural length is only top of the shoulders, that's a huge discrepancy, you
Right. And
know?
that's part of the consultation too. But before I forget, we use a tape measure to decide what order the correct length. Maybe that should be on here because I did say I order enough hair, but
Yeah, we got
enough
to talk about ordering too. Yeah, sure.
enough could be. I think that was that's next. That's number 3 for me. Order enough. But enough, I was just thinking volume of hair, but I like what you just said. That's part of the consultation. I'll put the tape measure way up here. And that's where do you want your hair to? And I measure and get the correct length. So some people, I guess, are trying to order shorter hair and place it lower so it hangs lower and they get the length, but they don't think about the density and amount of clients' hair falling over the top. That's interesting. I never really put those together because I always ordered the right length from where I knew it should be. But you're right. If I'm going to order 14-inch hair and I just go 4 inches lower, well, I'm going to get 18-inch.
Now you got 18.
Yeah, interesting.
But you have that disconnection,
right. So there's right. You give one. Yep. You're going to give and take in 2 different places. So that's fascinating. I never thought about that. So that brings me into number
the ordering, right?
3. Yeah.
The other thing about ordering, I want to say,
you know what? I had added order enough in between the cut, prep, and placement. And so I said 3 was placement. 3 was order enough. And I just didn't see it because I wrote it kind of small. So 3 was order enough because you got to order before you place it. That's why I snuck it in there. I'm like, oh, wait. I can't even read my own writing. So, and I think I said it right in the summary earlier, but I skipped it when we were detailing it out. I thought you wrote this down. You shouldn't have let me skip it.
I saw it. That's why I was going to remind you about it. But I figured you were in the zone.
So ordering enough, I was thinking grams, volume, the amount of fullness and thickness, but it's in length also. You got to order enough in length. So that's all I really wanted to say is most people don't order enough hair. And they'll be like, do you think I should order? I would rather have too much hair than too little, personally. But in today's world with the on-stage extensions, a lot of things have changed. And we're finding you can flirt with a little less hair because it goes in so fast and easy. It's in the old days of extensions, long 3-4 hour hair extension jobs. There was a lot of planning. I'd rather have a little too much hair, get it done on that one long day we're spending together. But with the on-stage extensions, again, we're in the Pennsylvania Hair Show, the salontraining.com show last weekend or 2 weekends ago. And I had a local girl there, Holly. I said, listen, it's not like last year. We're not racing on stage, but I still want you to be mindful of doing it fairly quick. And I am going to ask people to time you just to see how fast. And she was putting a full weft in 7 minutes, 6 and 7 minutes, without and to be a little under the gun, but without a lot of pressure, and taking a full weft out in 3 minutes. So I'm thinking, you know what? You order what you think you need. Maybe you go on the light side and you put 1 weft in, but you probably should have put 2. You can order another weft, have it in overnight if you need, a day or 2, and add to it. And you can literally fit this in between clients and in 10 pop another weft on a person's head. So the ease and speed of putting the onstage extensions in, although what we're talking about today is all extensions as far as placement. Order enough hair. If it takes you a long time to do it, order more. Just have extra hair ready. And then we kind of covered placement. I think that.
Well, I want to say one more thing about the ordering, though. We have to understand, please understand that nowadays,
I'm going to try to train this again and see if it goes everywhere.
Shipping. Oh, it's all good. Ordering and shipping is a major part of our lives. I don't know. There's a couple million packages being delivered a day.
There's got to be a hole in this thing. It literally is leaking.
UPS is overwhelmed. Okay. Don't trust just because it generally or usually comes in a day or two.
Right.
Don't trust that it's going to happen every single time. Give yourself a buffer. I can't tell you the amount of times I'm getting phone calls saying, can you track my package? It's not on the way. My client is going to be coming in. And I'm like, they're delayed. Like, oh my God, why? How dare they? Well,
Oh, and they're usually mad at us because they think we control UPS.
Right. Like, no, we got it out the day you placed your order. It
And we
just,
do make mistakes, but we ship all day, every day. So our mistakes are few and far between, but UPS makes a lot more mistakes. And they got a lot
UPS
more.
makes a lot more mistakes.
They're delivering a lot of stuff. And they've got weather to contend with, flat tires sometimes, sick employees. And so things don't make it sometimes. So you're right. Yeah. Order ahead of time. If I didn't always order ahead of time. I overnight last minute hair by forgetting to order clients' hair.
Do you realize overnight is no longer guaranteed? Like, it's so, the amount of paperwork I have to do at the office for overnight mess ups.
But you've got UPS, FedEx, USPS, United States Postal. So it depends on which company you're talking about. And none of them, doesn't matter if they guarantee it. You can't guarantee anything in this world, right? And guarantee just means, they're going to give you a refund for your shipping money if it doesn't get there with some carriers. So
they're going to attempt to get it there as soon as possible. Is really
saying guaranteed is such a only thing that guaranteed can mean is we're going to give you some sort of payback if we mess up. That's all the word guarantee can be even mean anyway. So getting your hair is never going to be guaranteed. Never. You got to definitely have a backup plan, like order it ahead of time in case you got to order it again or wait for it. Let's go into the last two steps are 5 and 6. And I would say number 5 is the most important. And the reason I would say that is for a long time, it was my most watched video on YouTube. Now it's second. People are loving watching the hair replacement go in on this one guy that we did. We have a 4-step process. And one of the 4, so I think it's a 4 video hair replacement install. And I think it's number 3 out of the 4. I can't remember if it's 2 or 3, but one of them just outperforms all the others. I'm not sure why. And it's become our number 1 watch video, but 5 simple steps to cutting hair extensions. I don't even know if that's the name of it, but 5 steps to cutting hair extensions was our number 1 watch video for many, many years. So it's like 8 or 9, maybe 10 years before the other one started to pass it up, because it's hard to teach hair extension cutting in a class, because every time first of all, are you using a mannequin head in a class? Does your client have short hair, medium hair, long hair, thick hair, thin hair, destroyed hair? What was the cut before? So it's hard to teach cutting because it's every single client's a little bit different. But I came up with 5 steps because it's 5 areas to concentrate on. Not all 5 areas need to be done every single time, but you check each of these 5 areas, because the cut, so many people focus on just one or the other, just the extensions or just the client's hair. And it really needs to be a blend between the two, as far as a seamless blend of layering over the top. Even if they're going to be wearing one length, there still has to be a little bit of, I like to use this really rough word, the wrong word, to really mess with people's heads and give them a better understanding of what's going on. Because I'm from down south and the humidity is ridiculous. It's like we live underwater. There's so much humidity sometimes, and our hair frizzes. Everybody's hair frizzes when you get out in the humidity, unless you have some really good products fighting it. And so I like to say on extensions, I like to create that mess. I'm going to create frizz. Okay. And people are like, why would you want to add frizz to hair? Well, it's not that I want to add frizz. It's that when she goes outside and her hair frizzes from here to here and it doesn't frizz from here to here, it just looks stupid. So I'm just going to barely touch over the top with that kind of layering technique over the top on the extension hair below the length of the client's hair, over the top all the way across, barely, even if they're wearing one length. Because the thing that we never really talk about when we talk about shedding, we never talk about the regrowing. Like we shed how many hairs a day? Everybody's got a different number, but nobody ever talks about how many hairs are we regrowing from nothing every day. Well, if we're shedding any number of hairs, let's just say 50 a day, some say more. If it's 50 a day, but we are never regrowing any hairs, well, it's not going to be too many days from now where we have no hair on our head, because it's going to add up. but we're obviously regrowing. And so that's three of the we learn in school. That's three of the stages of hair growth, and they are not all growth. Only one is growth, one is falling out, and one is not there for a little while. What?
Yeah, the resting phase. Yeah.
Yeah, they are dormant, resting, just not growing. So every little hole in our head that a hair's supposed to grow out of has one of three things going on. A hair's growing for maybe as long as 10 years. And then at some point in there, some of those hairs are falling out and some are regrowing, always. So if a hair starts growing today, if I got one hair down to here, but one starts growing today and then tomorrow and then the next day and then some shedding, you're going to have all these different lengths because it's always regrowing. Probably about 50 hairs a day are starting to regrow from nothing that fell out from some time ago. And so if you think about it on your head, even if you have one length hair, you never have one length hair, right? There's always going to be what looks like broken hair, damaged hair, different lengths hair, flyaways, frizzies. There's so many words for it, but it's all about those. It's all about the short hairs. And I don't mean those short hairs. I mean the shorter hairs on your head. You have one length hair. No, you don't. You have layered hair always. Always some sort of shorter hairs in your overall style. And so even on a predominantly looking thick one length look, even on extensions, which is very common and trendy to have really blunt looking solid ends right now, still adding a little bit of mess up texture, frizziness across that top. Will not look frizzy when you flat iron or curl iron or style it, but then when that humidity hits it and it does start to frizz a little, it'd be nicer looking if it all did the same thing, in my opinion.
It would. I love taking the length of hair and then, like you're holding it in your fingers and it's all right there in front of you. If you close your hand into a fist, it'll fan out like you're holding it. It's straight, right? If you close your fingers into a fist, it'll fan all that hair out. Then you can kind of see where the bluntness is and where it needs to be, point cutted. So you can soften up those ends. So then when you extend your fingers back straight again and all the hair collects back again, then you can see how much it's softened up. So it's a quick visual way to do it. The other thing is you mentioned earlier, razor cutting was always the thing, was the go-to tool.
It is a little easier if you're good at a razor.
If you're good at it, that's the whole thing.
I never taught razor cutting on extensions because not everybody uses a razor. You go into a class, you're teaching a whole group how to cut extensions, and you say this is the best way. Maybe it's the best way for me and two other people in this class, but if you got a class with a person who's never used a razor before, well, I'm going to teach you how to cut extensions and how to use a razor in the same class. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. A person who
with what you're comfortable,
That's what I say. You got to use the tools you're comfortable with. A razor is a great tool to blend extensions and do cutting, but all stylists these days learn to open and shut scissors, right? Scissors, shears, whatever you want to call them. My mom, she's in her 70s. When she learned how to cut hair, they only cut with a razor at cosmetology school. That's what they learned with. She combed hair up. She got this weird little thumb action where she held the hair with her thumb on the side of the razor, turned her hand, and went. That's how all my hair was cut when I was a kid. And she said, kind of like when I went to school, they only taught cap highlights. Foils didn't even exist. And so I had to figure out foils from other stylists in the salon on my own, watching videos. And you think, wow, you do something you didn't even learn in school. Things evolve, things change. Those Japanese and keratin type straighteners, they weren't taught, they didn't even exist too many years ago. So yeah, she had to learn how to cut hair with scissors on her own. Nowadays, everybody cuts with scissors and they're rarely taught how to use a razor. So if you're going to use a razor, you need to practice with a razor.
Texturizing shears these days as much. We used to do shear over tongue.
But that's why I say if I'm going to teach you how to blend, I would like to start with a texturizing, thinning, chunking, chopping, some kind of scissor with notches in it, because at least the concept of opening, close a pair of
Yeah.
scissors.
Yeah.
And if you take a thinning shear and you cut across the hair, whatever it takes out, it's going to take out. There's no learning curve. The learning curve is how many times to do it, how deep into the hair, what angle. There's still a little bit of a learning curve, but with a razor, you can go from taking everything off in a, or just barely blending over the top. And then you've got the challenge of how sharp is your razor? Is your razor brand new? Is it at the beginning of the cut? Is it at the end of the cut? Did you use it on other people, which you shouldn't, but many people do? You've been using the same razor all day, all week. It's dull. It's going to cut different in the beginning. I know it's gross. Right? They're sanitizing it. Right. And so it's getting duller. Are you cutting on wet hair compared to dry hair? There's a lot of things that change the cut. And I don't even know if we should even have step 6 in here. I just threw it in there because I feel like it's the end of the service and the hair should be styled. But you have any compelling things to say about styling? I just think you shouldn't send a client out looking unstyled.
You alluded to this earlier. You should brush your hair. You should teach your client to brush their hair. You alluded to this earlier, where the hair, your client's natural hair, will tend to frizz up and do weird stuff depending on the texture, density, and porosity. But the hair extensions, texture, density, and porosity is going to stay pretty stable all throughout.
Right.
And unless you let your hair extensions air dry, then they're going to blow up and frizz up like a balloon too. So simply brushing your hair will help smooth everything out. I mean, that's something I harp on week after week all the time. Brush your hair.
Maybe something we should add to the styling at the end is at-home maintenance, talking to your client about what they should and shouldn't do when they go home. That's not part of like a seamless blend, but in the essence of hair extensions, you should probably talk to your clients about what they should and shouldn't do at home, and how they should and shouldn't style their own hair, what tools they should use. Don't sleep with wet hair. That's a whole different video, how to take care of extensions.
No, to the seamless, Bernard. I had a client come in. She was only brushing her hair extensions at the bottom. She wasn't brushing her hair. So she looked like a bird's nest up here. And then she had like the nice smooth down there. And I says, she goes, do you think this looks right? I go, if you're trying to do the jellyfish style, then yeah, absolutely. It looks right. She goes, I'm not a jellyfish. I'm like, okay, then you got to brush from everything.
The things people decide to do. And you just like, why?
Yeah.
Why? I don't want them to fall out. I don't want to damage where they're connected. I thought maybe the more knotted and matted and tangled, the better they'd stay in. That's some sound logic right there.
I mean, I guess if they're all matted up in there, they are staying, and then ain't nothing coming out. Not even the shed hair is coming out.
Not even me getting them out when you come back. These are stylist proof. If you let it dread and tangle, my comment thinks he's going somewhere. Where are you going, boy? You gotta lay down. We're not ready to go yet.
So those are, yeah.
He heard that we were on step 6, and he's like, I think we're going.
We're done, right?
Lay down, boys. Lay down. We're not done yet. So that's it. Maintenance style, just so you don't look stupid. Don't sleep with wet hair. But seamless blending. I think if you follow those 6 steps that we just went through with any extension technique, you would have a much more successful career in the world of hair extensions.
Absolutely.
No matter what technique you use.
Those are good ones. You got some good ones this week.
This week.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean it that way, but yeah. Just
skip next week then. All right. Thank you guys. Subscribe, like, comment. Those help us, helps our channel, helps us want to keep doing this, because I don't know. We all like awards, rewards, some kind of trophy. We got that. We got the silver play button. I'd like the next play button whenever it comes out.
Cool.
Got my hobby is beekeeping. I have some beekeeping friends that have YouTube channels just a little smaller than mine. I'd like to stay ahead of them, and so I need
the competition.
Yeah. I went to a dinner with a beekeeper friend of mine, and I said, I love watching your YouTube channel. He's a famous beekeeper in the beekeeper world. I don't want to name him because then y'all going to go subscribe to his channel. But Jeff Horchoff. And he was a little jealous when he heard I had a bigger YouTube channel than him, because he's got the biggest YouTube channel in the beekeeper world. They take bees out of people's houses, and it's fascinating, interesting to watch. And when I had a few more subscribers than him, he's like, "What?" I said, "Not in the beekeeper world, it's in the hair world." He's like, "Oh, okay, but still, how'd you get ahead of me?" And so I was like, I don't know when it happened. I just noticed a couple of years ago, I started a YouTube channel, and he was like way ahead. I thought I'd never catch him. And we've grown, Eddie. This channel's grown faster than I ever expected it to do. Yeah. But I needed to keep growing to beat my friends. Can y'all help me stay ahead of my friends?
Those are the goals.
Press that subscribe button. See you guys later. Bye.